I am so excited to be here today. I am an ambassador for Susan G. Komen and a 21-year survivor of breast cancer. I'm here today not as a politician, a clinician, a researcher, but as a young woman who has literally lived more of a life in the fight against breast cancer than without it. I was a sophomore in high school, getting ready for school one morning like any other morning when I was in the shower and I felt a lump. I had no family history of breast cancer. That word was not in our vocabulary, but I was concerned enough about it that I mentioned it to my mom, and she scheduled me for a doctor's appointment. The doctor naturally shrugged me off and said, Nikia, you're young and your breasts are just developing. They're naturally very dense. I'm sure it's nothing. Those words resonated in my ears. I'm sure it's nothing. But by the end of that visit, she was concerned enough that she said, just to be on the safe side, let's schedule a biopsy. And not only did it turn out to be breast cancer, but it was a very rare and aggressive breast cancer, and I was only 16 years old. The doctors wanted to act aggressively. I immediately became a lab rat. They didn't they couldn't understand how aggressive breast cancer could have been formed in a girl so young with no family history. They immediately recommended that I have a double mastectomy. Now, if you can imagine yourselves at 16 years old, the last thing on your mind is the removal of both breasts. I was just trying to get a date to the prom, right? But I had a huge decision ahead of me and a lifelong round of choices that I felt were bigger than me. At that time, I decided to undergo a partial mastectomy, which left me horribly disfigured because at that time I had no knowledge of breast cancer, little access to quality health care. I was seen by a general surgeon. I didn't even have a breast surgeon. I was never followed by an oncologist. I didn't know what reconstruction was. They left one breast the size of a grapefruit and the other the size of a cantaloupe. And I used to ball up gym socks just to try to get through high school. I was teased and went through a life of self-esteem issues and just wondering, God, why me and how did this happen? But the beautiful thing is, I stand before you today because that diagnosis, while it was undoubtedly one of the most challenging experiences of my life, it was life-defining. I got a chance to realize early on that life is short and precious, and I could use this opportunity not only to grow myself, but to help others, as Maima said. And early on, I started that turnaround in school. I was only an average student up until that time, but I began making straight A's after that diagnosis. Graduated with honors, became the first person on either side of my family to go to college and graduate college and get my MBA and even earn my PhD. And right after college, I learned of Susan G. Komen and found out that they were forming a Young Women's National Advisory Council that was going to help educate an even younger audience of the needs and the awareness of breast cancer. And it was during that time that I got to meet Mahima and learn of the great work that Tiger Lily was doing. And I wish I could tell you that after that, life lived happily ever after in the end. But 18 years later, 18 years, not 2 years, not 5 years, when you kind of wipe the sweat off your brow and say, okay, it's over. But 18 years later, at the age of 34, I was once again faced with a mammogram, and the doctor said, you know what, we see something suspicious, Nikia, but I'm sure it's nothing. But guess what, guys? 18 years later, I was armed with the information that I needed. I knew about my options. I knew about the risks. I insisted. I became a dogmatic advocate and said, if you even think it's something, with my history, let's get it tested, let's get it checked out, and sure enough. And so at age 34, I had to undergo that double mastectomy. And yes, I was devastated because I had never become a mom. I was looking forward to becoming a mom and nursing and the dream that many women have. But guess what? Because I caught it so early and because the ball was now in my court, I got to decide every aspect of my treatment. I chose my surgeon. I chose what my treatment would be. And I'm now 3 years out, no signs of cancer. So all of us have a story, all of us have a journey, but today at age 37 years old, I stand before you as a 2-time, 21-year survivor of breast cancer. And my only mission today is that I hope that you walk away with this picture in your mind, that breast cancer is not an older white woman's disease. It can occur at any age and any stage, and it's up for us to not only know our own bodies, but let's educate a younger audience because it's happening more frequently, more aggressively. And had I waited, had I not had that access, I would not be standing here today. So thank you for the important work that you're doing, and thank you for the conversations that will result when we leave this room.